Welcome to the Black Narrative. Every shadow hides a story. Before we begin the story, we want to know, where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments, because every place has its own shadow. Daniel's life was a meticulously curated tapestry of ambition realized. At 42, his name resonated through the gleaming corridors of tech innovation. He was a visionary, the architect behind Synapse Dynamics, a company now poised to redefine AI logistics. Awards gleamed on his office shelves, each a testament to his relentless drive and singular focus. His latest project, a revolutionary smart city infrastructure concept, had just secured multi-billion-dollar funding, making him the darling of the industry in the face of countless magazine covers. Life in their sprawling penthouse overlooking the city's glittering skyline was an endless parade of success, attended by influential figures and punctuated by exclusive events. Daniel thrived on this energy, a constant hum of progress and prestige. His wife, Natalie, a woman of refined tastes and a penchant for designer labels, was the perfect complement to his success. She moved through their opulent home with an air of effortless elegance, managing their domestic empire and overseeing a life of luxurious leisure. Natalie had given up her own modest career in interior design years ago, content to bask in the glow of Daniel's accomplishments. Their conversations often revolved around upcoming social engagements, new art acquisitions, or the next exotic vacation destination. There was a comfortable, if somewhat superficial, rhythm to their marriage. Daniel appreciated her beauty, her social graces, and the polished image they presented as a power couple. Natalie, in turn, revered his drive and the financial security it afforded them. They were a team, albeit one built on mutual benefit rather than deep shared vulnerabilities. Far from the metropolitan hum, in a quiet, modest house nestled in the countryside, lived Carmilla, Daniel's mother. A widow for over a decade, she had raised Daniel and his two older siblings with tireless dedication, often sacrificing her own needs for theirs. Her husband's passing had left a void that none of her now grown and scattered children could truly fill. Daniel, being the youngest and arguably the most successful, felt a lingering sense of responsibility for her, though his visits had become increasingly sparse, relegated to brief, scheduled calls and occasional hurried trips during holidays. He sent generous sums of money monthly, believing financial support was the best way to ease her burdens. He genuinely loved his mother, but the demands of his burgeoning career, the constant push for the next big thing, had subtly eroded the closeness they once shared. Carmilla never complained, always greeting his calls with a warm, gentle voice, assuring him she was fine, even as the solitude gnawed at her. She understood his ambition. She truly did, but a quiet ache for her youngest son's presence persisted. One late Tuesday evening, as Daniel finalized a critical merger presentation, the city lights twinkling below his office, his phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. It was Dr. Wijaya, Carmilla's local physician. The doctor's voice was gravely serious, cutting through the hum of Daniel's ambition like a cold steel blade. "Mr. Wijaya," the doctor began, his tone somber, "I regret to inform you that your mother, Mrs. Carmilla, suffered a severe stroke this afternoon. She's in critical condition. We've stabilized her for now, but she'll require continuous intensive care. Given her age and the severity, it's a long road ahead, Mr. Wijaya. She needs someone here, immediately." The words hung in the air, transforming the gleaming office into a suffocating box. Daniel felt a sudden, dizzying lurch, as if the very foundations of his meticulously constructed world had just shifted beneath his feet. The multi-billion-dollar deal, the groundbreaking innovations, the endless accolades, all of it suddenly seemed utterly insignificant. The doctor's words echoed in Daniel's mind, a relentless drumbeat against the silence of his penthouse. He drove home in a daze, the city lights blurring into streaks of abstract color. Natalie was already asleep, a serene figure beneath silk sheets. He watched her for a moment, a sudden bitter realization washing over him. This life, this opulent facade, felt utterly hollow without the foundational comfort of his mother. When morning came, still reeling from a sleepless night, Daniel sat, Natalie down in their pristine, minimalist living room, the city sprawling indifferent outside their panoramic windows. "Natalie," he began, his voice raspy. "Mom had a stroke. It's severe. She needs someone to care for her, full-time. She can't live alone anymore." He watched her face, searching for a flicker of empathy, a hint of concern beyond her usual composure. Instead, a delicate frown creased her brow, a sign of irritation. "Daniel, I'm so sorry to hear that," she said, her tone polite, but distant. "But darling, we have a life here. My charity galas, your conferences, and who would manage the house? We can hire the best nurses, surely. Send her to a private facility. That's what people do." Daniel felt a chill creep up his spine. "Natalie, she's not just people. She's my mother. She raised me alone. She needs family, not just hired help in a sterile room." He tried to explain the doctor's prognosis, the depth of Carmilla's dependency, the irreversible nature of her own condition. He spoke of the sacrifices Carmilla had made for him, the years she had worked tirelessly to put him through school, the quiet strength she had always embodied. He even dared to suggest, hesitantly, that perhaps Natalie could lend a hand, or they could spend more time at Carmilla's house while figuring things out. The suggestion ignited an almost instantaneous fury in Natalie's eyes. "Are you serious, Daniel? Me? Caring for a sick old woman? My hands are for canvases, for managing our social calendar, not for changing bedpans. And leave this life? Your career is at its peak. The Synapse Project, the global expansion. Do you know how much that means? It's everything we've built. If you walk away now, you'll be a laughingstock, a cautionary tale. Our friends, your colleagues, they'll say you lost your mind." Her voice, usually composed, rose in pitch, reflecting a mix of disbelief, anger, and a deep-seated fear of losing their privileged status. "You choose her, Daniel, and you choose a life of squalor, a life where I don't belong. I will not live like that. If you go, I won't be with you. Not anymore." The ultimatum hung heavy in the air, slicing through the last vestiges of Daniel's hope for compromise. He looked at Natalie, truly looked at her, and saw not a partner, but a stranger whose priorities were diametrically opposed to his own. The chasm between them had always been there, masked by success and material comforts, but now it was exposed, vast and unbridgeable. He thought of Carmilla, frail and vulnerable, alone in that hospital bed, dependent solely on him. He thought of her quiet strength, her unwavering love. He thought of his own childhood, how she always put him first. The choice, stark and painful, became clear. He saw his mother's weathered hands, not Natalie's perfectly manicured ones, and the decision solidified. The weight of his rising career, once a source of immense pride, now felt like a gilded cage. He realized with chilling clarity that this was the true test of who he was. "Then that's what I'll do, Natalie," Daniel said, his voice quiet but resolute, carrying the weight of a monumental decision. "I choose my mother, and if that means losing this life and losing you, then so be it." The words were a sword, cutting through the fabric of his meticulously crafted existence. The silence that followed was deafening, pregnant with the end of everything he had known, and the terrifying, yet oddly liberating, beginning of a path unknown. The divorce was swift, brutal, and public. Natalie, fueled by indignation, and a desire to maintain her image ensured the separation was plastered across society pages. Daniel, however, paid it little mind. His world had already shrunk to the confines of a modest, old-fashioned house in the countryside, a stark contrast to the shimmering penthouse he'd abandoned. The familiar scent of mothballs and old wood filled the air, a humble antidote to the sterile perfume of his former life. He sat by Carmilla's bedside, her fragile hand in his, the hum of the hospital monitors a constant, unnerving lullaby. When she was discharged, weak but stable, the real work began. Daniel, the man who once commanded boardrooms, now found himself mastering the art of caregiving. His days, once structured by high-stakes meetings and investor calls, were now dictated by medication schedules, feeding tubes, and physical therapy exercises. He learned to change adult diapers with a practiced efficiency he never imagined possible. His fingers, once adept at navigating complex software, now gently turning his mother to prevent bed sores. The quiet struggles were immense. Financial pressures mounted as his savings dwindled. The lucrative Synapse stock options he'd abandoned would have covered years of private nursing care. But now, he was on his own. He navigated the labyrinthine bureaucracy of local healthcare, wrestling with insurance forms and the limited resources available. There were days of overwhelming exhaustion, where his body ached from lifting and his mind swam with unanswered questions about his future. He felt the isolation acutely. Calls from former colleagues became fewer, and the few who bothered offered polite, awkward sympathy before retreating to their own bustling lives. One particularly grueling night, Carmilla's fever spiked, and she became disoriented, calling out for her deceased husband. Daniel sat by her side, pressing cool cloths to her forehead, his own eyes burning from lack of sleep. Despair threatened to engulf him. He remembered the thrill of closing a multi-million-dollar deal, the rush of adrenaline from a successful product launch. Now, his victories were measured in tiny increments. A spoonful of pureed food swallowed, a moment of clear-eyed recognition from Carmilla, a soft squeeze of his hand. He looked at her frail form, the stark reality of her dependence a heavy weight. Was this truly the life he chose? Had he made the right decision, sacrificing everything for this seemingly endless struggle? A wave of regret, cold and sharp, washed over him. But then, as dawn painted the room in soft hues, Carmilla's eyes fluttered open. She looked at him, truly saw him, and a weak smile touched her lips. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice a thin thread. "You came home. You're here." In that moment, the years of neglect, the pursuit of success that had drawn him away, seemed to melt. Her simple words, filled with an unburdened love and a profound sense of relief, pierced through his weariness. He realized that the intangible value of his presence, his touch, and his unwavering care was more profound than any corporate achievement. The regret dissipated, replaced by a quiet, unwavering resolve. He was where he was meant to be. The sacrifices were immense, the challenges relentless. But the connection he was rebuilding with his mother, the genuine, unconditional love blossoming anew, was a treasure far beyond any boardroom victory. This path, though arduous, was leading him to a different kind of fulfillment, a deeper, more enduring form of wealth. Months turned into a year. The quiet house, once a symbol of his sacrifice, had become a sanctuary. Daniel's hands, once accustomed to sleek keyboards, now moved with a tenderness born of constant care. Carmilla's condition stabilized, showing slow, incremental improvements, a testament to Daniel's tireless devotion. Her smiles became more frequent, her voice a little stronger. They spent hours together, Daniel reading to her from old books, sharing stories from his childhood and listening intently as Carmilla recounted tales of her youth and the struggles she faced raising her children. These were conversations they'd never had during his high-flying career, moments of intimacy that stitched together the frayed edges of their past relationship. Daniel discovered a hidden talent for quiet observation and problem-solving, skills he had honed in the tech world, but now applied to the intricacies of elder care. He started a small online blog, initially just to document Carmilla's progress and his own learning curve. But as he shared his insights on managing medical routines, adapting living spaces, and coping with caregiver burnout, his honest, unvarnished accounts resonated with others. People began reaching out, sharing their own struggles, asking for advice. Slowly, organically, the blog grew into an online community, a supportive network for caregivers facing similar challenges. He found purpose in helping others navigate the same difficult waters he had chosen to sail. He even started to develop a simple, user-friendly app for managing medication schedules and doctor's appointments, a passion project born directly from his daily experiences. This was his new innovation, a quiet revolution of compassion. His former life faded into a distant memory, a shimmering mirage of what he once thought was important. There were no more grand conferences, no multi-billion-dollar deals, no public accolades. His success was now measured in Carmilla's comfortable sleep, her laughter at a shared memory, and the quiet contentment in her eyes. He had found a profound sense of peace that had always eluded him in the frantic pursuit of external achievements. The financial stability was minimal, but he managed. He simplified his needs, found joy in the small routines of life, and discovered a resilience he never knew he possessed. He wasn't the man who defined tech trends. He was the man who gently spoon-fed his mother, who held her hand when she was scared, who listened to her fading memories with infinite patience. One sunny afternoon, Daniel sat on the porch swing with Carmilla, her head resting gently on his shoulder. The gentle breeze rustled the leaves of the old oak tree in their yard. He looked at her, his heart full. He had lost a fortune, a prestigious career, and a wife who couldn't comprehend his choice. But in return, he had gained something far more invaluable: his mother's unconditional love, a renewed sense of purpose, and the profound understanding that true wealth lay not in what you accumulated, but in what you gave, and in the depth of the human connections you nurtured. He realized that his life, far from being a failure, had become a testament to courage, love, and a profound redefinition of what it meant to be truly successful. The path had been difficult, fraught with loss and uncertainty, but it had led him home, to a quiet, profound happiness that resonated deeply within his soul. If this story touched your heart, click subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss more powerful stories from the Black narrative. Every shadow hides a story.